Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 13, The Descendants of Dhruva Mahārāja. So, currently we are in the section, we are reading the descendants one after another, and we have reached the point where there is Maharaj Aṅga, and his son was Vena, and he was such a rogue ruler that Brahmanas removed him from the post and they churned his body, and there was the incarnation of Prithu Maharaj and Archi Maharani. Now Vidura naturally becomes very anxious and want to know what has suddenly happened in the dynasty of Dhruva Maharaj. Right. So we come to the next text, that is text 13 or 21. Yeah, text 21. Vidura Uvacha Tasya Shilanidhe Sadhur Abbrahmanyasya Mahatmanah Radnya Katham Imam Drishtva Praja Yatmaniyam Yayau. Translation.
Vidura inquired from the sage Maitreya, "My dear Brahmana, King Aṅga was very gentle. He had high character and was saintly personality and lover of brahminical culture. How is it that such a great soul got a bad son like Vena, because of whom he became indifferent to his kingdom and left it?" Purport. In family life, a man is supposed to live happily with father, mother, wife, and children. But sometimes, under certain conditions, a father, mother, child, or wife becomes an enemy. It is said by Chanakya Pandit that a father is an enemy when he is too much in debt. A mother is an enemy if she marries for a second time. A wife is an enemy when she is very beautiful. And a son is an enemy when he is a foolish rascal. In this way, when a family member becomes an enemy, it is very difficult to live in family life or remain a householder. Generally, such situations occur in the material world. Therefore, according to Vedic culture, one has to take leave of his family members just after his 50th year so that the balance of his life may be completely devoted in search of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Vidurji is very surprised and is asking, King Vena is very gentle. He has a great character, saintly personality. He is a lover of the Mahatmanaha Brahminical culture. Then how did a son like Vena, King Aṅga was such a saintly personality, how did the son like Vena born to him? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada primarily quotes Chanakya Pandit, where Chanakya Pandit says, ऋणकर्ता पिता शत्रु माता च अव्यभिचारिणी रूपवती भार्या शत्रु putra shatru apanditah. That these are considered to be in a metaphorical way in a shatru, because runakarta pita shatru. If the father is an enemy, if he has taken too much of a loan, then mata cha vibhicharini, mother is considered enemy if she does any vibhichar. Rupavati bharya shatru, then there is always a chance that one may be always be attached to beautiful husband or beautiful wife continuously. And again, it's in a metaphorical sense. And putra shatru apanditah. And if the son is a foolish, stupid person, then he is also considered to be a great enemy. And there are many examples of this, one after another. So, in the case of, and here Prabhupada says that the Vedic culture is that, therefore, one should look for Vanaprasthashram at his 50th year. So, Panchadasham Vanamagachet. So, what that means is one should be, when one is nearing the retirement, it may not be 50 for us, but at least 60. When one is nearing the retirement, one should focus on the spiritual part of the life more. All said that, going to Vana is completely ruled out. That is one thing. Second thing is, a good example is contributing and retiring simultaneously. We have, in Pune congregation, very amazing devotee. His Grace Jaidev Prabhu, very senior personality. So Jaidev Prabhu, is an ideal example of how to have a Vanaprasthashram. A couple of hours of engagement, he keeps himself engaged, and that way he's contributing to the society as well from the broader sense. And at the same time, he's engaged in 99% of the energy engaged in spiritual activities as well. Text 22. Kim vahovena uddishya brahmadanda ayuyujan dandavrate dhare radni munayo dharma kovida. Translation.
Translation. Vidura also inquired, how is it that the great sages who were completely conversant with religious principles desired to curse King Vena, who himself carried the rod of punishment and thus awarded him the greatest punishment, Brahma Sapa, purport. It is understood that the king is able to give punishment to everyone, but in this case it appears that the great sage punished him. The king must have done something very serious, otherwise how could the great sages, who were supposed to be the greatest and most tolerant, still punish him in spite of their elevated religious consciousness? It appears also that the king was not independent of the brahminical culture. Above the king was the control of the brahmanas, and if needed, the brahmanas would dethrone the king or kill him, not with any weapon, but with the mantra of a Brahma Sapa. The brahmanas were so powerful that simply by their cursing, one would immediately die. Hare Krishna.
So this surprised Vidurji, saying that the great sages who are completely conversant with the religious principles, Munayo Dharma Kovida, they are aware of the Dharma Kovida. Kovida means very greatly intelligent personality. How did they give danda to somebody who is supposed to award danda to people in general because he is the king? Radnya Dandadaro. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the great sages are the most tolerant, and it was very amazing that they are killing the king, because king is considered as Naradeva. Naradeva is like a Deva Amsha. He is considered to be, the Amsha of the Supreme Lord, and that's how the ruling potency of the Lord for the citizens. But here, the ruling king is killed by the greatest of the munis who are supposed to be very tolerant. They think something must have happened. So this Brahma Shapa. How did they give Brahma Shapa? Prabhupada says nobody was independent in the Varnashram system. The king was ruled by the intelligent class, and the intelligent class was ruled by the sannyasis, and sannyasis were subservient to the Guru Shishya Parampara, ultimately to the Supreme Lord. So when this balance was moved away in one or another direction, the different isms will take place. When the Vaishyas take over, it will be capitalism. When Kshatriyas take over, it will be dictatorship. When the Shudras take over, again, we are talking strictly from the Varnashram definition of Bhagavad Gita, Guna Karma Vibhagashah, then there will be communism. So different isms will come when different people they want to take over. So ultimately, it is the Daivi Varnashram which should be followed very systematically. Mark this word, Brahmadanda. Okay, because later, when such a family description is going to go, Vamshavali, then his son was Ambarish and he, Brahmadanda Duratyaya. He could very easily surpass the Brahmadanda. Immediately, Parikshit Maharaj becomes very alarmed. He said that, how the Brahmadanda Duratyaya? How did, this Ambarish, what was that Brahmadanda and how could he surpass the Brahmadanda? And then there is the entire pastime of Ambarish Charitra. So this is Brahmadanda. He was given a sharp. Text 23. नावद्येय प्रजापालः प्रजाभिरगवानपि यदसौ लोकपालानां बिभर्त्योजसस्व तेजसा. Translation.
It is the duty of all citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appear to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all other ruling chiefs. Purport. According to Vedic civilization, the king is supposed to be the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is called Narayana, indicating that Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in human society as the king. It is etiquette that neither a Brahmana nor a Kshatriya king is ever insulted by the citizens, even though a king appears to be sinful. The citizens should not insult him. But in case of Vena, it appears that he was cursed by the Naradevtas. Therefore, it was concluded that his sinful activities were very grievous. Hare Krishna.
So Vidurji, he says, the king is considered as Naradevata, is a Naradev or Naranarayana. And he is not to be, he is always to be respected. And how did such a thing that great Dharmakovida Munis, they killed the king when the king is not supposed to be even insulted? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Vedic civilization, the king is supposed to be representative of the Supreme and thus Naranarayana. Right? And the etiquette is that neither the Brahmana nor the Kshatriya king is ever to be insulted by a citizen. People come with their teja, like somebody is a very intelligent student. You cannot just call him, stupid, or in Marathi, we call it bawlat. So people will become, a simple word it is. Our parents must have used 10 million times to us. But the next generation, they will pick it up, that. So people will come with their tejas, and especially any tejas one has, they have a very high sense of, we may think it is pride, but they have a very high sense of, the self-respect, Atma Sanman. And therefore it is always better to respect people. Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. By default, we should begin with respecting people. That is a very safe position to begin with. And especially these days, when people are, sometimes even afraid to joke with very close friends also, because you don't know that what set of mind people are going in. Pehle leg pulling was so common. But nowadays, one should be really very careful when pulling the leg. Something else should not happen. Text 24. एतदाख्याहि मे ब्रह्मन् सुनिता आत्मदच्चेष्टिताम् श्रद्दधानाय भक्ताय त्वं परावरवित्तम. Translation.
Vidura requested Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, you are well conversant with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, I wish to hear from you all the activities of King Vena. I am your faithful devotee, so please explain this. Purport. Vidura accepted Maitreya as his spiritual master. A disciple always inquires from the spiritual master, and the spiritual master answers the question, provided the disciple is very gentle and devoted. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said that by the mercy of the spiritual master, one is blessed with the mercy of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master is not inclined to disclose all the secrets of transcendental science unless the disciple is very submissive and devoted. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the process of receiving knowledge from the spiritual master entails submission, inquiry, and service.
Vidura requested Maitreya Muni. Vidura is a great personality. Whenever we say Vidura, we should be always aware. His father is Vedavyas, right? He's personally being trained by Bhishma. Look at the humility of Vidura. Etadakhyahi. Oh, great Brahmana. You are aware, you are conversant. Tvam paravaravittamaha. You are conversant of all the subjects, past and future. And therefore, it is my desire that please narrate this pastime. I am your faithful devotee. So please explain this to me. Srila Prabhupada, somewhere in Bhagavad Gita, describes that Lord reserves his right not to reveal to a challenging personality. Right? So, you know that the mood of submission in the purport Srila Prabhupada explained, a disciple is always inquires from the spiritual master, and in the mood of submission, inquiry and service. Tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadyakshanti te jnana jnanina tattvadarshana. So Bhagavad Bhakti is not Andha Bhakti. There is a prashna is there. Neither it is, I challenge everything. These are the two extremes. That I accept everything. No, there is a scope for discussion. But there has to be submission, there has to be service, and there has to be genuine inquiry. And this is very beautifully put forward by Vidurji in this case. Text 25. Maitreya uvacha Aṅga ashvamedam medam rajarshi rajahara mahakritam na jagmu devata tasmin ahuta brahmavadibihi. Translation?
Śrī Maitreya replied, My dear Vidura, once the great King Aṅga arranged to perform the great sacrifice known as Ashwamedha, all the expert Brahmanas present knew how to invite the demigods, but in spite of their efforts, no demigods participated or appeared in that sacrifice. Purport: A Vedic sacrifice is not an ordinary performance. The demigods used to participate in such sacrifices, and the animals sacrificed in such performances were reincarnated with new life. In this age of Kali, there are no powerful Brahmanas who can invite the demigods or give renewed life to animals. Formerly, the Brahmanas were conversant in Vedic mantras, could show the potency of the mantras. But in this age, because there are no such Brahmanas, all such sacrifices are forbidden. The sacrifice in which horses were offered was called Ashwamedha. Sometimes cows were sacrificed, Gavalamba, not for eating purposes, but to give them new life in order to show the potency of the mantra. In this age, therefore, the only practical yajna is Sankirtana yajna, or chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So now Maitreya begins the narration that what exactly happened and how such a rascal Vena was born to a great personality, Aṅga. Rascal is Srila Prabhupada's words. Rascal, literally means a dishonest man. And when Srila Prabhupada is writing the purport 60 years back, rascal was a very common word. Even in some of the, Hindi movies, we can see that mother is calling the baby child as a rascal. Oh, my rascal, come here, like that it is. Okay. But now the connotation changed over the decades. And now it may be like, how can Prabhupada call somebody as a rascal? No, rascal, when Prabhupada used the word, was a very simple meaning. Dishonest man. Meaning remains the same. Connotation has changed. Okay. So in this case, once the great sage Aṅga, he arranged to perform a sacrifice known as Ashwamedha. Brahmanas were supposed to invite the demigods for this yajna, and they tried desperately, but no demigod participate or appeared in that sacrifice. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that the Vedic sacrifice is not that you take some 20 bricks, construct something like which looks like Yogya Kunda, put some fire into it, put some wood into it, and put some animals into it, and have a nice kind of a hurda party. So that is not a Vedic sacrifice. Vedic sacrifice means the Brahmanas are so qualified that the Agni they will chant will come from the mantra, and the animal which is sacrificed will receive the new life in front of everyone. And that is the proof that the sacrifice is complete. Otherwise, the Brahmanas who are performing the sacrifice, they are, kalankit for their lifetime, that they have killed the animal, and thus they are out of their profession. So Kali Yuga, things are taken everything on the face value, and people, especially if you go to Nepal and other places, Kathmandu, horrible to visit. Even some of those Vedis where they kill buffaloes in hundreds daily. Such a ghastly scene it is. So this is not the yagya. Very clearly, these things are forbidden in Kali Yuga. Ashwamedham gavalambam, sanyasam palapaitrukam, devarena sutopattim, kalau pancha vivarjaye. These 5 things are forbidden. Ashwamedham gavalambam. Prabhupada quotes, Ashwamed is forbidden, gavalambam is forbidden. And then which is the yagya which is to be done? And that yagya is yagyai sankirtana prayai yajanti hi sumedasah. Chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this is such a yagya, there is tatra arpitani amitaha nasmaranena kalaha. You don't need to be a Brahmana, you don't have to be. In Kali Yuga, hardly anybody is, by the way. Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha. There is no restriction of time, place, circumstance. Anybody and everybody can chant this, the greatest chant of deliverance. Prabhupada says 24 hours a day. Satadam kirtayanto ma. Text 26. Tamurchu vismita tatra yajamanam atharudvijah harvirshe huyamanani nate gurihyanti devatah. Translation.
The priest engaged in the sacrifice then informed King Aṅga, "O king, we are properly offering the clarified butter in the sacrifice, but despite all our efforts, the demigods do not accept it." Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So the priests, they tried their hard, but the demigods, they were not accepting the invitation to accept the offering, and thus they conveyed this to King Aṅga. Text 27. Rajan harvishi avidushtani shraddhaya asaditani te chandansi ayatayamani yojitani dhrutavrataihi. Translation.
O king,
Translation. O king. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care and is not polluted. Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way. For all the brahmanas and priests present here are expert and are executing their performances properly. Purport. It is the practice of the brahmanas conversant with the science to pronounce a Vedic mantra in the right accent. The combination of the mantra and Sanskrit words must be chanted with the right pronunciation. Otherwise, it will not be successful. In this age, the Brahmanas are neither well versed with the Sanskrit language nor very pure in practical life. But by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can attain the highest benefit of sacrificial performances. Even if the Hare Krishna mantra is not chanted properly, it still has so much potency that the chanter gains the effect.
Yeah. So they were very surprised. They said, "O king, the paraphernalia that you collected is well collected." What is the meaning of well collected? Well collected means it is not coming out of any corruption. Okay. By proper means, the paraphernalia is collected. Proper means. It is very important. Sometimes people do a lot of corruption, and out of some 5% they will give for some donation. Well, this doesn't come under the category of well collected. Well collected with good faith and is not polluted. Chanting of the Vedic hymns is also perfect. The Brahmanas and the priests here are very expert, and still demigods are not of accepting the invitation to join the yagya. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the Vedic mantras have to be chanted in right accent and right meter. Right pronunciation is required, otherwise mantra will not be successful. In fact, it can bring harm upon people. Later in Bhagavatam, we are going to see Tvashta becomes very angry that his son is unduly killed by Indra. He wants to perform a yajna, and he says that Indrari, the enemy of Indra should be born. But he's so angry while performing yajna, he puts the oblation, and that one word, his anger just goes to max. And he says, instead of saying Indrari, he says Indrari, the Dirghari. And that means a personality will be born whose enemy is Indra. And that is, of course, this personality is born in that yajna is a celebrated Vritrasur, right? But the meaning is completely changed. The meaning is Indra is to be killed. Now the person who will be killed by Indra. And therefore pronunciation is extremely important. But these rules are not there for Mahamantra. Even if Hare Krishna mantra is chanted not properly, still it is so potent, right? There are so many examples. In European country, one person came to temple and he said that, oh, I have started chanting your mantra. And he said, what's the mantra you are chanting? And he was chanting this, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare. Hare Ram, 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 Hare. So he was not knowing the word Hare. And he was just chanting the word, Hare as hair. And then devotees were very happy to receive him. They taught him the pronunciation, what that Hari means. He was not knowing either Hare or Hari or Krishna or Rama, but he was exhibiting all the devotional qualities of a Vaishnava, right? Then there are so many examples. Chinese cannot chant R, so they chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Lam, Lam, Hare. So neither Hale, neither Krishna, neither Lama are the words, but the mantra is so potent and powerful. And the Lord is so kind and compassionate, Bhavagrahi Janardana, that this is accepted. But and therefore this mantra is called as Maha Mantra. Other mantras, first thing they need qualification. Second thing, they need proper pronunciation. It is not that anybody, anytime, पान टपरी का दुकान पान का ठेला होता है and there you put up some Gayatri mantra and things are just going on. It doesn't work like that. Those mantras will harm one more than doing any benefit. Mantras, they are powerful and they are restricted. Again, not by any birth considerations, by qualifications, but Hare Krishna Mahamantra is unrestrictedly distributed. Right, this is the potency of Mahamantra. Text 28. न विदामेह देवानां हेलनां वयमन्वपि यन्न गृह्णन्ति भागान् स्वान् देवा कर्म साक्षिणः. Translation.
Dear King, we do not find any reason that the demigods should feel insulted or neglected in any way, but still the demigods who are witnesses for the sacrifice do not accept their share. We do not know why this is so. But it is indicated here that if there is a negligence on the part of the priest, the demigods do not accept their share in sacrifices. Similarly, in devotional service, there are offenses known as seva aparadha. Those who are engaged in worshipping the deity Radha and Krishna in the temple should avoid such offenses in service. The offenses in service are described in the nectar of devotion. If we simply make a show of offering services to the deity but do not care for the seva parada, certainly the Radha Krishna deity will not accept offerings from such non-devotees. Devotees engaged in the temple worship should therefore not manufacture their own methods but should strictly follow the regulative principles of the cleanliness, and then offerings will be accepted.
So the priests, they continued with the king. They said that, my dear king, we do not find any reasons why the demigods should be dissatisfied or insulted or feel neglected. And we do not know why they are not accepting their share. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, if there is a negligence on the part of the priest, demigods will not accept the sacrifice. Right? And thus, when performing any sacrifice or any seva, there is something called as seva aparadha. Seva aparadha means there is a precaution is to be taken, and if you do not take that precaution, then there is a aparadha. What to speak of the deity? Even there some great personality comes, like governor is visiting, or the president of India is visiting. Like in Pune, temple inauguration, there was president of India, Pranab Mukherjee ji. He visited. And when the honorable president of India, Mukherjee ji, was here, there was 1 month of the, what do you call it, Rangit Talim in English? What do you call it? There was a the full scale rehearsal which was going on. How to conduct? Who will all be there on the stage? Their character certificate, their police station records, because you cannot have any tainted personality photographing with the president. And then they said when the president takes his chair, nobody can cross him. As a idhar se udhar ja raha hai, udhar se idhar ja raha hai, no question. All the movements were rehearsed. Who will speak after what the president will speak. When the photographs of presidents were taken, it is not that they directly go to press. No, they have to be authorized by the presidential house. And which photograph will be taken, which will not be taken. All those protocols. This is true for the president of India, what to speak of, the president of the universe. And therefore, there are certain etiquettes which are to be followed. Otherwise, there is seva aparad. And if you mark carefully, Srila Prabhupada writes about Radha Krishna deity so much, because in Kali Yuga, therefore the worshipable deity is Gaur Nitai or Jagannath Baladev Subhadraji, because they are so kind and magnanimous that they do not take any offense directly. So, but one has to be aware of the seva aparad. Like one seva aparad, people often may not know. There are 32. Someday we will go through all those. But one is like, one should not show one's back to the deity. One should not speak loudly in front of the deity. One should not shout in front of the deity. One should not pass foul air in front of the deity. One should not. So these are the Dhruva Gosvāmī very elaborately describes in Nectar of Devotion. What are these seva aparadhas are? So we'll just take one more verse because there are no translations there. There are no purports. We'll see the next two verses without purports. Maitreya uvacha ango divacha shrutva yajamana sudurmanah tatprushtam vyasrujat vacham sadasyan tat anudnyaya. Translation.
Maitreya explained that King Aṅga, after hearing the statements of the priests, was greatly aggrieved. At that time, he took permission from the priests to break his silence and inquired from all the priests who were present in the sacrificial arena.
So the king was greatly aggrieved. He took permission to break the silence, right? Because he was sitting in a yagya. He's not just speaking anything and everything. So when we are chanting Hare Krishna, of course it is, to myself more, we should not be speaking other things or should not be distracted. Loknath Maharaj says very beautiful thing. He says, you should chant so intensely that people should be afraid to disturb your chanting. So, because that is also a yagya that we are undertaking. He took a permission and then he began to speak. Text 30. Na gachanti ahuta deva na grinanti grahaniha sadasapatayo brutah kimavadyam maya kritam. Translation.
King Aṅga addressed the priestly order. My dear priest, kindly tell me what offense I have committed. Although invited, the demigods are neither taking part in the sacrifice nor accepting their shares.
Yeah. So he's asking that what is the mistake I have done? That we are inviting the demigods, but they are not appearing, neither they are accepting their share of the sacrifice. We will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Śrī Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Prabhupada, thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, thank you everyone. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
So like at home we don't have deities and something, but generally devotees offer their bhoga to the photos of either Vrindavan Chandra or like Kunja Bihari and all that. So that time we don't follow standards as such. So what should be how much the seva aparats are to be or which things should be considered or cared for?
Yeah, good point it is. So one thing is, we don't have. So what the mood is that we have the photo till the time we are going to have the deity, right? Because not everybody can install the deity, but the aspiration should be that, that going forward, or when I get married, when I'm settled, or so, whatever it is, X, Y, Z. So that is the aspiration, not that it is simply a photo, therefore anything and everything is okay. Because the problem with, whatever we tolerate becomes the standard. Anywhere, whatever we tolerate. Like I also remember that sometimes there is no tulasi, and then things are in hurry, and who will go to the shop and get the tulasi? Tulasi plants are not so much that you can literally pluck so many leaves, and then we say, okay, we'll offer mentally tulasi. But then what happens is, whatever we tolerate, this I'm telling my own case, whatever we tolerate, that becomes a standard. And then, what became as a exception just becomes the next okayish kind of a standard. Okay, okay, tulsi mentally offered is also okay. So whatever we tolerate becomes a standard. So one has to, I'm speaking all these big words. I have 10,000 things to improve myself, but this is the understanding that one should try to do as best as we can, right?
Yes, Broji. But then, like, because when we have this in mind that we might commit seva aparat, so which are the like, to be very honestly saying, sometimes when we used to be in voice scenario, there used to be very high standards which we used to follow, and at home sometimes we offer bhoga to the Lord on fresh clothes, but there may be night pant and night shirt. So, like as Prabhupada said that Radha Krishna doesn't accept the bhoga, then how it should be considered?
Two, three things here. The clothes are considered contaminated only when we sleep on the clothes, and go
Mm.
for the दो number को गए, like nature's call, clearing के
Mm.
लिए, then the clothes are considered to be contaminated, right? And then bath is mandatory. So that is one. Second thing is, Radha Krishna worship is always stricter than Gaur Nitai worship or Jagannath Baldev Subhadra worship. So very rarely, the devotees will advise or even have the Radha Krishna deities. Those who have the deities, they will do under the instruction and will follow a very high standard. And that doesn't mean that anything is okay with Gaur Nitai deities or Radha, or Jagannath Baldev Subhadra deities. That is one. Second thing is, we have to be doing reasonably best, because we cannot just live in the some utopian world. There are certain realities, but within that, how
Mm.
cleverly we can do that, we can do,
Okay,
right?
Prabhupada. Yes.
So yeah, so simply put is that night dress can be different, or the like if we are not able to wash every day dhoti kurta, but we may use the dhoti kurta only for those morning 2 hours, 3 hours, and then same can be used for next one day. So instead of daily washing, we just reduce it by 50% kind of a thing, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji,
uh,
last question.
right.
Like uh, at home, when we are offering ourselves, we know all the mantras, but when like we are not there, we are asking parents to offer with just chanting 3 times Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That was told by me by one devotee. So that works, or we have to teach them all the mantras because they are also chanting and all that. But is accepted? And this is also to the photos and all that.
Right. See, the the understanding is that we always want to improve and always want to go as close to the standards as possible. Now, if the parents are already chanting, then it's a good opportunity to teach them mantras also. And literally, sometimes we think that ये बहुत बड़ा mantra. One day I really calculated कि कितना time, how much time it takes to do offering, and it takes 94 seconds if you chant mantras very slowly and carefully. It just takes 94 seconds, right? 94 seconds, not more than that. To do the entire offering mantras, that 3 chanting 4 mantras 3 times, doesn't take much time. It's only in the mind that abhi offering karna hai, I mean. So when the ladies can cook for 2 hours, and generally what happens, the lady in the house is cooking and says, Prabhuji, now do the offering. And Prabhuji feels that, oh my God, I have to do offering. As if cooking is one activity and offering is another activity. That, we need to be reminded that cooking is 2 hours of activity and offering is 94 seconds of activity. Okay. And putting the preparations and other things, less than 4 minutes of activity. So it's a good idea to teach also.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Right? Because they are already chanting.
Hare Krishna,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
ma'am.
I have one small questions.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, in Kali Yuga, or paraphernalia or rituals we done is a viha sanskar, adharanta sanskar, vagara. So we are calling the priest. So how much we faith for that priest, he can do very well that time. So how we understand that things?
There are some good priests. There are good priests available within ISKCON. We have a Samskara department. And ISKCON is training a class of people, not necessarily born from Brahmin background. Most of them are, but not necessarily all. But there are devotees who are trained like that. And otherwise also there are many good people outside. It is not that only ISKCON there are good people and good priests. There are many genuine priests outside. And one need to search for them. But there are there.
Yes, yes.
They are there. So, and across the castes and across the regional requirements, like somebody who's a Tamilian in Pune, and then there are very good Tamil priests in Pune who can do the samskaras in a very authentic Tamil Krishna conscious way, right? Hare Krishna. So we'll conclude here. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.